Something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
All right, welcome to it. Live from the heartland right here in the shadow of Detroit and fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom as we do every single day. Glad to have you here as we kick off a big, beautiful Friday. Yes, it's the Steve Gruber Show, and we're glad to be having you on the air today because it's free speech, free for all Friday. Easy for me to say. Three big things this hour. Number one, in a shocking development, the economy is doing even better than anyone even predicted. The GDP for the fourth quarter coming in apparently at 5.4%, blowing away all expectations, leaving critics speechless. Number two, one federal prosecutor is calling Governor Gavin Newsom the king of fraud, as President Trump's administration launches an expansive probe into statewide corruption there. And number three, it's been an explosive start to 2026. One major news story after another. I mean, it has been blistering. The daring nighttime raid to capture the Venezuelan dictator and extradite him to America without a single American casualty. The ongoing and fast-growing scandal of fraud from Minnesota to California by those we invited into our country, reaching tens of billions of dollars, could be hundreds of billions of dollars before the dust settles. And, of course, the death of a protester when an ICE agent opens fire in self-defense on the streets of Minneapolis. I just watched a video. I just posted a video on X. Slow motion, best angle. You can see him get pushed out of the way by the vehicle as he's falling away as when he fires the first shot. The video is crystal clear. It's all on the table today. Free speech, free for all Friday, powered by Patriot Mobile's Common Sense Hotline. 877-310-9966. 877-310-9966. I told you yesterday, and I repeat today because apparently people need to hear this, to understand this. The easiest way to not get shot by a cop of any sort is to follow their lawful instructions. And I'm not the only one that can see this logic. Follow lawful instructions. Don't roll up your window. Don't give them the finger. Don't use foul language. Just say, okay, what do I need to do? Listen to what this guy says. Best take I've had yet on trying to run over a police officer. Here he is.
FAFO, but also my condolences. But let me just say this. If you try to run over a federal agent, you will get shot. Stop trying to spread this propaganda like ICE did something wrong. Move.
Move. How do you like that? Let's do it. The Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline, open for business, 877-310-9966, 877-310-9966. Scott, first on the line today from the great state of Georgia. Scott, good morning. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. Hey, thank you for the call. I have 2 points. Number one, ICE, stand tall, be proud, unapologetic, unashamed. You're awesome. For the 17 Republicans voting to extend Obamacare, dig in your purses, grab your man card and your Republican badge. Get
them away.
The F out of our government.
Throw them away.
We need room for true Republicans. Thank you, sir.
Scott, thank you. Way to kick it off. ICE, we stand with you. Look, I stand with law enforcement. It doesn't mean that all police officers are pure as the driven snow. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean there aren't some bad cops out there. There are. This guy, however, was hit by a car. The video is clear. Clear. He fired his self-defense. And if you don't know the backstory, 6 months ago, this guy was also hit and dragged by a car for 100 yards by an illegal alien that they were trying to arrest. He got 35 stitches. Took a fair amount of time to heal and recover. He's been there before. Let's go to Randy in Florida. Randy, how are you today?
Hey, good morning, Steve. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, you know, I know you're probably going to get mad at me about what I'm going to tell you, but
it's free speech.
I see no coexisting with these people.
You see what?
The Democrats. I just don't see it. I mean, they're actually siding with the enemy of the United States of America. I mean, how do we do this?
I didn't hear what you said. What would I get mad about?
Well, I just don't see coexisting with the Democrats.
Well, I do.
They
Hold
don't
on.
value our American
Let me
values.
answer that, Randy. Let me answer that. I see coexisting with Democrats. I don't see coexisting with anarchists and agitators and people that are openly attacking law enforcement. They have put a target. They, the radicals, the fringe, and trust me, they are the fringe. The people that are saying, these police officers ought to be arrested and charged, these are not mainstream thoughts. These are not Democrat thoughts. These are radical fringe thoughts. They call themselves Democrats. They're not. They're radical, far-left, socialist agitators. And they're violent people. But the sad thing is there's enough of these violent people. You know, Democrats, as they would say, are mostly peaceful. But these aren't Democrats. They're anti-American agitators, Randy. So I can coexist with Democrats. I got Democrat friends. Normal Democrats who I can have a conversation with. Yeah, they still exist in the wild. A few. They seem to be becoming more rare by the day, but they're out there. But thank you for the phone call. Doesn't make me angry. It's free speech, man. It's what we stand for around here. You don't have to agree with me. In fact, if you don't, it might start a conversation. That's what it's all about. Patrick is in the great city of Las Vegas, where it's all lit up today, like every day. Patrick, how are you?
Hello there, Mr. Steve. The truth, Gruber, bigger than Rush Limbaugh.
Well, thank you.
I want to talk about this guy, Mandani, New York City.
All right.
The first thing he does, he puts a person in charge of the fire department that doesn't have 1 day's experience.
None.
As a fireman.
None.
And it's the world's largest skyscrapers. And if there was another 9/11, this fire chief wouldn't know which way to go. That's gross incompetence on Mandani's department.
Oh, don't worry. I mean, don't worry, Patrick. It's going to get worse. Worse. Look, I predicted last summer that he would win the election. I also predicted that he would be recalled before he finished his term. I stand by that prediction. You can't put people in charge.
And the other thing is, for him to send out a mandate to the New York Police Department not to work with ICE, isn't ICE to serve and protect the taxpayer, the people, the citizens?
Yes, sir. Patrick, thank you for the phone call. Yes, sir, is your answer. The fact of the matter is I just saw the prosecutor, the chief prosecutor of the city of Philadelphia, white guy, say, if you come here, ICE, and you break the law, I'm going to prosecute you. I mean, you're seeing this all over the country. These big city administrations threatening ICE. And do you think the people in the Minnesota National Guard that Tim Walz says he's going to call up to put up against federal agents, do you think those school teachers and shopkeepers and ordinary folks are going to stand there to pull the trigger against federal agents? Not a chance. Talk about an unlawful, illegal order. There it is, by definition. Oh, we're just getting warmed up. Free speech, free for all Friday will continue in a moment. All right, Free Speech, Free for All Friday. Also coming up, Congresswoman Lisa McClain of Michigan is going to join me. She's number 3 in Republican leadership in the House. I like her a lot. She's on point. She's to the point. She's tough as nails. She's coming up. She's going to talk about all these topics as well today. During the break, we were talking about Tim Walz calling up the National Guard to go toe-to-toe with federal agents. That's an unlawful order. But you would think he would never do that. Except that, let me remind you, because Anthony reminded me, he goes, wasn't it Tim Walz who sent the National Guard into the streets during COVID to fire paint guns at his own citizens? Look at the video. Do you remember this? Tim Walz, during COVID, had the National Guard firing on people because they were on their porch. Tim Walz is a dangerous governor, it looks like to me. He had the National Guard firing paint gun rounds at Minnesota citizens. When he says we need to put the National Guard on the streets to fight the federal government, good Lord, is that dangerous? Boy, is he dangerous. Don't forget what he's done previously. He has a track record, as they say. Let's go to Tom in Michigan. Thank you, Anthony. Tom in Michigan now. What's on your mind?
Well, hi, morning, Steve. Great show. One thing no one seems to be bringing up, and I heard about, is this lady, Good. She was from Colorado, and she'd been harassing them all day, following them, racing down one-way streets and the wrong way to get ahead of them.
Yeah, there was a lot of harassment. Let me clarify this, because, and just bear with me for a second, Tom. She was married. Okay. This is the way I understand it. She was married. Her first husband divorced her. Her first husband got full custody of 2 of the kids, all right? Second husband died, right? That's the child that she dropped off at daycare. But she lived in Missouri. After the election of Donald Trump, her and her new wife, now she was married to 2 men, now she's married to a woman apparently, moved to Canada briefly to get away from Donald Trump. Then they moved back, and then they opened a business in Missouri. Then they ended up in Minneapolis. They lived there for not very long. It's not like it's their hometown. It's not her home territory. But, yeah, she was following these people around. And her wife says she's the one that encouraged her to go do this. But it's clear. Look, you look at this footage. The car is stopped crossways in the street. Of course she's trying to block ICE. And then when she's told to exit the vehicle, she backs up first and then spins her wheels and slams on the gas to go forward. And the video that I just posted on my account on X is the best video I've seen yet. You can see that officer clearly get impacted by that vehicle before, and this is key, before he fires his weapon. Yes, she's an agitator, Tom.
And yes, she is. And NPR, they're talking about it like she was just turning around.
Yeah. National Progressive Radio.
Right.
Yeah, anyhow, thank you, Tom. She was not just turning around. There was a reporter from Fox 2 Detroit. This will be on MichiganNewsSource.com today. For some of you that want to see just egregious, outrageous reporting, on Michigan News Source today, there will be a report from Tom Gantert, great writer, about a reporter from Fox 2 in Detroit saying she was just an observer. She was just there observing with a motor vehicle that impacted a police officer before, and this is so key, before he ever fired his weapon. Look, I don't take any pleasure in the fact that this woman died, but she put herself in harm's way. Look, I've talked to my Democrat friends. She put herself in harm's way. Kevin is in Arkansas today. Kevin, good morning. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Steve Gruber, sir. It's a balmy 58 degrees here in Arkansas. I want to say my hat's off and I salute our men and women of ICE and Border Patrol. And I do believe that Pam Bondi should send in the U.S. Marshals. If the local police are not going to aid the ICE agents and the Border Patrol in doing their job, the U.S. Marshals should be there to take down any agitators.
But let me say this.
Throw a snowball.
Yeah, let me say this, Kevin. I don't disagree with you. Throwing snowballs, all this stuff, I agree with you. The police in places like Minneapolis, it's not that they don't want to help. They're being ordered not to help. Let's just make sure we understand that distinction. Let's just be crystal clear on this. The police in places like New York City, Minneapolis, Portland, they're not refusing to help the federal agents. They're being ordered not to. And so you have to understand, if they break those orders, they lose their job. Go ahead.
Exactly. And is it by definition, is a sanctuary city actually impeding law enforcement officers from doing their job?
Which, by the way,
isn't that sedition?
Well, no, but here's what it is. And thank you for the phone call. Obstructing a federal officer doing their lawful duty, doing their job, is a felony. Easy thing to find. Impeding, obstructing, trying to interfere with a federal law enforcement agent doing their job is a felony. Full stop. That's what it is. Let it ring. We can get in one more call here. Steve from Virginia. How are you today?
Hey, good. Good morning, Steve. Love your show. First time caller. Calling from Southwest Virginia, the southern part of the state where we love God, family, and our country. And we're about to soon to be taken over by California Abbey. But my question is, do you think we'll ever see anybody in the Minnesota government in handcuffs going off to jail?
Yes. Yes, I do, and here's why. Great question. Okay. I'll close the segment with this. Here's why. There were people on Capitol Hill testifying just a couple of days ago that the people in Minnesota didn't just commit fraud, but they've been going back and backdating certain forms, fabricating forms, trying to cover their tracks. Remember, the cover-up is always worse than the crime. That's what was testified to by one person after another on Capitol Hill. Yes, I do believe that people in government, but I don't want the mid-level people. I want the people running that scam to pay the price. I mean, Illinois can send governors to prison, so can Minnesota. I'll be right back. By the way, this is not resistance, what you're seeing. It is the predictable outcome of vile rhetoric and anti-police efforts. This is just an extension of defund the police, the dumbest thing ever put forth by any political party in my lifetime, maybe anybody's lifetime. Let's go to Ed in Indiana. Ed, how are you today?
Good morning, Steve. I want to speak on this here shooting. There's always a thing of the adrenaline factor, which is never mentioned. That's when you take a conflict, whether you're a policeman, stand your ground with a gun in your hand, or you got a crowbar in your hand, and the person that's feeding the conflict there makes a mad move where you feel threatened for your life or somebody else's life, and you got to make that decision in a split second. And then we spend a year with the news media, the courts, and that talking about it like two drunks in a bar that talked about something that happened 40 years ago.
You're exactly right, but the fact of the matter is the Supreme Court has weighed on this. Numerous other courts have weighed in on this. This is clear-cut. It's legal. There's no question about it. Let's go to Tony in West Virginia. Tony, how are you today?
Nope, that's Chris in New York.
I'm sorry, Chris in New York. That's what I meant to say. Chris, how are you?
Steve, long-time viewer, first-time caller.
Thank you.
I want to talk about a different subject.
Go ahead.
And it would be the voting machines and the electronic voting. And I heard, you hear about a lot of the machines were made, or the companies were come from Venezuela. And in my state of New York, I truly believe that the elections have been affected by
Sure they have.
the voting machines. Do you see anything in the future coming up where the media is going to cover more of this? And now that Venezuela is not run by a dictator anymore, will we find out the root of what's been going on?
Well, thank you for the phone call, and it's a great topic. Look, nothing's been more critical. Every election seems to be more important than the last. I think that's true this time around. Dominion Voting Systems was bought by a patriot, and it's no longer even functional. But it's no surprise that all this leads back to Venezuela, because Venezuela has been controlled by China in large part for years. Then they want to interfere with our elections. More on this still to come, but next, Lisa McLean, and then more of your phone calls on a Free Speech Free for All Friday. Welcome back to the program. As we have talked about so many times, 2026 off to a blistering start. One major headline after another. We don't even get to the economy, but we're going to today, among other headlines, with Congresswoman Lisa McLean. She's representing Michigan's 10th Congressional District beginning in 2021 and Michigan's 9th Congressional District Since 2023, she's part of the Republican leadership in Congress and become a good friend of the program. Lisa, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. And it got off to a rip-roaring start with the raid in Venezuela. We got Maduro out, not a single casualty. My understanding is 3 minutes from the time they touched down till they had him in handcuffs, brought him out of there. And for anybody who's complaining about this, we've had an extradition treaty with Venezuela for more than a century. He was facing indictment in the U.S. Southern District of New York. Look, I don't think it could have gone much better, but your friends on the other side of the aisle that at one time didn't like Maduro and they want no kings apparently want to support this dictator. It's strange to me, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I was just in a briefing yesterday, and my hat off to our military team. I mean, are you kidding me? We have the best, most advanced military men and women that serve, and my hat off to them. They executed this strike with precision, and we should be applauding them. We took so many drugs off the street with the capture of Maduro. Well, first, we saved $50 million because we don't have a bounty on his head that we have to pay to anybody anymore. So that's a good thing, right? We're plus 50 million. But think of the countless lives that we saved by taking this terrible drug dealer off the streets. Why wouldn't we applaud this? I'm just scratching my head on that. Why wouldn't we applaud this? Oh,
Yeah,
I know why.
no
It's
idea.
because Donald Trump did it. And I say this all the time. Donald Trump could have the cure for cancer, and the Dems would find a reason to say it's the worst thing that ever happened.
Yeah, he put oncologists out of business. It's a terrible thing, right? That's what they would do. Look, beyond the drugs, though, this is the assertion of what he calls the Monroe Doctrine. That's fine. It's cute. But it really is the protection and the defense of the Western Hemisphere, because it's not just about the drugs. That's very important. But it's blunting China, Russia, Iran, Cuba from running an active crime syndicate out of Venezuela. Look, it was an international crime syndicate. It was the focus of crime for drugs, human trafficking, interloping into American affairs. Setting China back, to me, is critical here. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, China, Iran, Russia. Look, under the past administration, the United States was, I would argue, the laughingstock of the world. They were not respected at all. And this President Trump, put the world on notice that the United States is back and we will be respected again. And we are the leader of the free world. And we are going to do business with our allies and for our allies. So to me, I also think it sends a message that the days of the weak Biden leadership, those days are gone. There's a new sheriff in town and America will be respected. And that's exactly what he did with the capture of Maduro, who I think got indicted under the Biden administration. But let's not let the facts get in the way of a good story.
Right. I want to shift gears now to another big headline story, because the new sheriff in town is also enforcing law here in the United States, and people on the left don't like it. Look, there was a tragic shooting in Minneapolis. You know about this, of course, but there was a woman, a protester, who was blocking traffic, and then when she was ordered out of her vehicle, refused. As she tried to flee, she contacted a police officer. He returned fire. She died. Look, if you don't obey the lawful orders of a police officer and you try to flee the scene, bad things happen. I don't want to see this happen. Nobody wants to see this happen. But to go after law enforcement, and then I heard the craziest thing ever. The governor of that state, Tim Walz, made the comment that he's ready to call up the Minnesota National Guard to take on the feds to protect Minnesota. Does he think it's April 1861? Does he have a calendar?
I have no idea about Tim Walz. I mean, seriously, he told everyone he wants the federal government out of his way and get out of Minnesota. I'm curious, Tim, does that mean you want the federal government's money to leave the state of Minnesota too? But then if that were to happen, who would be there to fund all those fraudulent Somalis? I have no idea.
Exactly.
It's sad. And this is what happens when you demonize law enforcement. This is what happens when you don't have rule of law. you have anarchy, you have
Yeah.
chaos. And it is extremely unfortunate of what happened. But I think the way that the governor and the mayor are going about it, they've already been judge, jury, and executioner. How about we let the law play out? How about we let due process play out? But they aren't de escalating anything. They are escalating the situation. I
Yeah.
mean, the mayor telling everyone, telling ICE to get the F out of his city.
While the
Okay,
governor's
that's
calling for the National Guard to come go, what, toe to toe with the feds? I mean, it doesn't work that way, Governor. And talk about an unlawful order like some of your fellow Democrats discussed 6 weeks ago. That is an unlawful order. Let me shift gears one more time with you because I want to leave this on a very high note, and that's the economy. I just saw the numbers come out, 5.4% GDP. We haven't seen a number that high, that robust since 2012. The inflation is at 2.7%. Gas prices have come down consistently for weeks and months now. We set an all-time record, $1 trillion spent at Christmas. Everywhere I look in the economy, I see things starting to blossom. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think 2026 is going to be a very positive. I'm very optimistic about 2026 for a couple reasons. One, you take a look at all the economic indicators of which you just spoke about. Not to mention, interest rates are coming down. Right, that's a big that's a good thing. Investment in jobs are coming back into America. Let's just take a look at my state of Michigan. Right, $173 million is coming to rural health care. That's huge for my district. You know, I represent part of the thumb, very rural. That is fantastic. I think 2026, you will see the legislation of 2025 and the working families tax cuts actually come to fruition. Because what I want to remind everybody is every single Democrat voted to raise your taxes by an average of 21%. Republicans, we fought that off and we kept your tax rates where they're at. So we avoided the largest tax increase in history, not to mention no tax on tips, Social Security, overtime. You are going to begin to see those benefits in 2026. And couple that with the investment that's coming back into the United States, with people being respecting the United States again and actually wanting to do business in the United States because the regulations are easing as well. Those are all good things for the United States of America.
They certainly are. I like the optimism, the forward thinking. Look, we've got a lot of important things to deal with, whether it's Venezuela or corruption and fraud in government, but the enthusiasm, I truly appreciate it. Congresswoman Lisa McClain, thank you as always.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Great day. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
There you have it. Lisa McClain. Look, a lot of things to be optimistic about, a lot of serious things to deal with. I'm glad to have her there representing the state of Michigan. Glad to have you here as well. This is the Steve Gruber Show. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
actually called while he was
Was
in
it
the bathroom.
a number
but
one or
Chip's
a
on
number
hold
two
now.
call? All right, diving back into the phone calls on this Free Speech Free for All Friday, powered by Patriot Mobile. PatriotMobile.com, promo code Gruber. You'll get some free service and some special bonuses. You want to use Patriot Mobile? I have for years. I really like them. Let's go to Tony in West Virginia. Tony, how are you today?
Good morning, Steve. Thank you for taking my call. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I want to make a comment and warn the ICE agents. I believe they need to start traveling with an escort because it's a matter of time. They're going to take one of these protest vehicles, which should not be a part of a protest, and load it down with something explosive. If she got lucky when she got shot, because an everyday American would have done the same thing as any Iceman would have done.
I don't know if she got lucky when she got shot, but I appreciate the phone call. I thought it was the Secret Service that traveled with escorts. Oh, that's a different story. Never mind. Chip is in Georgia. Chip, how are you today?
Not bad. You, Steve, first-time caller, long-time listener.
Yep.
They want to know what's going on with old Big Fanny down there in Atlanta and see if she's going to be held accountable for anything she's been doing.
Well, I would hope so. I mean, we saw the testimony come out of Georgia. What is it, 300,000 plus ballots that weren't done properly. Fannie Willis is doing all her game playing, all that money, all that bogus prosecution of the president. But here, let me ask you this, Chip. You're in Georgia. Can you get the folks and get their act together enough to win that Senate seat from John Ossoff? Can the Republicans get their act together enough to win that seat?
You sure would pray on it. I tell you what, there's just so rural up here where we're at by the Appalachians up here and trying to get everybody to follow through. But I guarantee if we get enough of them together, they'd do it.
You got to do it. Look, Georgia's a red state. To have two far-left blue senators from a red state is an anomaly. I wish you well there in Georgia, Chip. Thank you for the call. Greatly appreciate it. Jeffrey, you're in Florida today. Glad to have you on the program. What's on your mind?
Good morning. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
I have a new one. I believe the lady driving that car was guilty, but I have a new one. I believe that's a smoke screen. I think there's another smoke screen going on with the money going out of Minnesota. There's one that needs to be looked into is private schools. Private schools are being taken over by the Chinese left and right, and it's awful quiet. I've heard maybe 2 people talk about it. It would be nice to have somebody look into that also. I mean, and that's got to have just as much money as the babysitting job.
You know, that's interesting, Jeffrey. Yeah, that just jumped on my radar. Thank you for the phone call. That actually just appeared on my radar here in the last 48 hours. These private schools, charter schools, getting money from different places, funding from outside the country, whether it's China or anywhere else, educating students. You know, we've got schools that teach kids to hate America right here, charter schools that teach kids to hate America. Now, I like charter schools. I like schools of choice, but choose America first. Choose America as the place that you live and respect. Interesting phone call. Listen, guys, you can always do this. SteveGruber.com. Send me an email. If you know of a daycare, an autism center, a home health care facility, a place that's supposed to serve meals to the poor, to the needy, and you know it's a fraud, or think that it is, got a pretty good sense that it's a fraud, let me know. If you've got a school, like he just talked about, like Jeffrey just mentioned, that you think is a fraud, well, do let me know. I think that that's incredibly important. Let's go to Carla. She's in Wisconsin. Carla, good morning.
Well, good morning, Steve. I have a new word for you as a journalist, the fantastic man that you are, that is the light of a lot of people's life, I want you to know.
Thank you.
I have a new word for you for all those people out there that are spewing the lies. They're called fraudcasters. Not broadcasters.
Yeah.
We need to call out those local TV stations and radio stations and say, look, you guys need to start telling the truth. We need to be active. It takes people like me, you, everybody to use their words. But these fraudcasters are out there spewing lies. You watch that. I enjoyed your guest. She was fantastic, Lisa. People that just say the truth and call out the hypocrites and your friends or businesses that are. I don't like to coddle them or placate or do business with them because I don't want them. I will go in there and say, why is this flag up? Why don't you have an American flag? You have a gay pride flag. I won't go there. I won't spend my money there. So these broadcasters, they need to be called out.
Good call. Really well done, Carla. Thank you for the phone call. I agree. Fraudcasting. It's happening all the time. We heard somebody talking about NPR here a moment ago. Fraudcasters. Well, the good news is, by the way, we defunded the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, right? It closed its doors this week, and somehow NPR and PBS are still on the air. I guess they didn't need my money after all, those fraudcasters. Good word, Carla. I think I'm going to use it going forward. Ken is in West Virginia. Man, West Virginia well represented today. Ken, how are you?
Good. Good morning, Steve.
What a voice. You ought to be in radio. Go on.
Well, I disagree with you on the police officer standing down from a retired military ex-police officer. You stand down, you're not a police officer. My first obligation is to protect and serve.
When did I say stand down? Hold on.
Worrying about a job.
When did I say stand down?
There's a whole bunch of good police departments that will hire you.
Well, I agree with that, but I didn't say stand down, did I? When did I say that?
Well, you said, they're making them stand down. They're standing down to keep their job.
Well, that's true.
I mean,
but
there's a whole
let
bunch
me
of
ask you
police
this.
departments.
Let me ask you this, Ken. They're being ordered in places like Minneapolis, Chicago, New York. They're being ordered not to assist in any way the federal law enforcement. What do? You got 10 seconds.
I understand that, but, what happens to the water cannons? In Minnesota there it's cold. Bring out the water cannons.
That'd be fun. Anyhow, thanks for the call, Ken. Greatly appreciate it. Not sure I got the answer. If you're being told you're not allowed to assist, you're breaking, the chain of command if you assist. More calls on a Free Speech, Free for All Friday. Straight ahead. All right, just dive right back into it. The Patriot Mobile, Common Sense Online. Support Patriot Mobile. You'll be glad if you do. Trust me, we've been with it for years. We love Patriot Mobile. PatriotMobile.com. Promo code is Gruber. Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline today, 877-310-9966. Dave is in Arizona. Dave, good morning.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it, Mr. Gruber.
Yes, sir.
So I think we, the people, are getting played, unfortunately, by both sides. They love when the public, when we, the people, are have conflict amongst each other. And somebody mentioned the other day, your word of the day, fraudcasters. I'll offer another one, collaborationists, because that's what I view
what's the word?
The GOP, the collaborationists.
Oh, yeah.
I used to say that the GOP was complicit, but based on the fact that they've funded these programs, and back in 2018, Hennepin County had a court case that uncovered all this. The federal government has been funding this fraud for the Somalians and all these programs in Minnesota for almost a decade, sir.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Dave. Great phone call. Look around the room. It's not just Democrats. It's more often Democrats involved in these things, but it's not exclusive to the Democrats. There's not just fraudcasters on the air. There's fraud in the House, in the Senate. Look, a lot of people are just waiting out Donald Trump, hoping that he'll go away so they can get back to business as usual, which means lining their pockets. Greg in Kansas City, we got about 45 seconds. Close out the hour. Greg, what's on your mind?
All right. I wanted to speak to people in case they have not got close contact with people in law enforcement, that when it comes down to people driving their cars away on or speeding through from a ticket or from whatever it is, people don't realize there's a snap judgment needs to be made. Here in Kansas City area, we've had several occasions in the last year where police did not take affirmative action, shoot the person or stop them from getting away. They proceeded to go ahead and crash into some innocent victims and kill them or maim them permanently.
Right.
And I bet that their families would have appreciated them being stopped at the spot of the location.
Great call. Let the police do their job, comply with lawful orders. More calls after the top of the hour here on the Steve Gruber Show. All right, I want to play. There's always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
To it as we dive into another big hour here, the Steve Gruber Show on a Free for All Friday. Glad to have you here. That's right. We got a lot to talk about as we continue on this day, sorting out the phone calls and getting you on board. Yeah. Here are three big things you need to know this hour from the foxhole of freedom. Look, 5.4% GDP. Means all the naysayers have been proven wrong. What about those terrible tariffs? Are they going to blow up the economy? We're going to see the Dow pass 50,000. One good day and we're there. Number two, Vladimir Putin, ever the rogue dictator, says if security forces are stationed in Ukraine, if and when the war ends, they will be legitimate targets. Think about that. Legitimate military targets. Let that sink in. He really wants a wider war with the United States. And number three, it is free speech, Free for All Friday. It's all on the table today. Powered by the Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. 877-310-9966. Maybe the craziest beginning of a year in my lifetime as the news cycle has been blistering, to say the least. We're going to continue the conversation, but I want you to hear this. It's from the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department, right? He explains in clear terms what it means when you block or interfere with federal law enforcement. He pulls no punches. Listen.
Federal agents, ICE, HSI, are officers. They are agents of law enforcement. If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation. And it's reasonable for them to use force based on those conditions. Do not box in any law enforcement officer. You are breaking the law when you do that. And you are putting yourself in danger.
You're putting yourself in danger and the people around you in danger and the public in danger. And law enforcement officers have every right to defend themselves. I just posted on my X account the clearest, best video I've seen yet. So many cell phones around, videos are now starting to come out. This vehicle impacted that officer in Minneapolis before he fired, which is why the one round you can see through the windshield. He fired that round after he was struck by the vehicle in that glancing blow. Look, folks, you do that, you're going to get shot. And the superintendent there, the Chicago PD, gets it. I don't know why so many others do not. Let's go to Joseph in Ohio. Joseph, how are you today on a Free Speech, Free for All Friday? Hello, how are you? Yeah, go.
I'm fine, sir. I was just going to change the subject a little bit. I was wondering if the same 17 Republican congressmen that voted to reinstate the subsidies for Obamacare, I'd like to know who they are so we can vote them out of office and get good people in there.
Whole list of them. A lot of them from New York, New York, Pennsylvania, and Ohio were the biggest contingency. I checked. I didn't have any Michigan defectors, but you've got a whole bunch of them from Ohio, Joseph. You can look it up. It's an easy list to find. But look, they're in tough races. They're in close races. Sometimes the best you can get is a rhino. I hate to break the news to you, Joseph. Sometimes the best you can get is a rhino, and it's still better than the alternative. Trust me. We let a Senate seat get away from us here in Michigan. Now I have Alyssa Slotkin as my senator. About as radical left as you can get. Terry is in Illinois today. Terry, how are you today? Welcome to Free for All Friday.
Hi. Yeah, I was wondering, when is the federal government going to hold J.B. Pritzker accountable for what he's doing to Illinois? Trump has been in power for a year, and we have not felt any relief from these radical leftists in Illinois.
Well,
that's it.
Well, a fair point, but I'll say this, Terry. Is it the federal government's job to protect you from the people you elect, if you elected them? Illinois has a long and storied history of voter fraud. We know that. Going back to the Daily Machine in Chicago. But look, Illinois has a long and storied history of throwing governors in jail, too. You guys have a history of that. Maybe you can do it again. If J.B. Pritzker is breaking the law, maybe somebody can break through and do something about it. Look, Illinois is a red state. It is, except for Cook County, which is Chicago, of course. Maybe you guys can step up and clean it up. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. J.B. Pritzker, terrible governor. Lori is in Montana. Lori, how are you today?
Steve.
How are you?
I want to thank you for putting out such a wonderful show and telling the truth to America.
Thank you.
I have one thing to say. To all these defund the police and anti-ICE protesters that are out there, I think they should be put on a no-call list. So when they have an emergency or need ICE or need the police, they don't get them.
Wow.
They have to fend for themselves as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you see that. Now, where are you in Montana?
I'm in Victor, Montana, the Banana Belt.
Yeah, I know where it is. I used to live in Montana, you know. I went to college there.
I don't know why you left.
Well, their family drew me out of there. I don't disagree with you. I think Yellowstone did no favors. The television series did Montana zero favors. People have been coming in there.
No, they didn't.
Bucket loads. Anyhow. Yeah, I lived in Bozeman. I lived in Belgrade. I lived in Montana for a number of years. Anyhow, no call list. I'll have to think about that, Lori. But, you see that happen. People that are anti-police, and as soon as they get in trouble, their first call is to the police. Lori, great call. Greatly appreciated. God bless Montana. Was the last best place. Now I'm not sure anymore. Walt is in the great state of Ohio. Yeah, I said great state of Ohio, Walt, so don't get used to it, but there it is.
Why, good morning, Steve.
How are you?
I'm doing wonderful today, and I hope yourself. Hey, since Congress is so out of touch, governors, senators, Congress members, how about if there's a possibility that the Treasury Department can freeze and seize all foundations for these people?
What do you mean? The non-profit charities, they set up that sort of thing?
Yes, sir.
Well, the first thing we needed to figure out, Marjorie Taylor Greene quit her job, which I cannot stand, by the way. You campaigned for the job. You asked for the job. You told the people you're going to represent them and do your job, and then you quit. I can't stand it. Can't stand when Mark Green, the Republican of Tennessee, did it. Can't stand that Marjorie Taylor Greene did it. I like her on some topics, but that one, inexcusable. But she went from $700,000 net worth to $25 million in 5 years' time. Don't you wish you could do that?
Yeah, that's the issue. They get in there and they thieve. Seize all this money from.
You had the word right. It's thieve. You're not wrong, Walt. I got to leave it there. I got to hit a break. But yeah, thieving, and it happens on both sides. Freeze this money. I think there has to be reform in the way these people enrich themselves at your expense and mine. More calls on a Free Speech Free for All Friday, right after this. let's jump right back into it on a Free Speech, Free for All Friday. We've got some guests coming up later in the program, Congressman Tim Walberg, among others. But I really appreciate the support here today. We continue to grow this audience and grow this movement. What do we do? The formula is simple. Give you the facts to the best of our ability, tell you the truth, tell you the facts as we know them to the best of our ability, tell you the truth about those facts, and evaluate what we're looking at. We may not always agree, but we'll always shoot straight, that's for sure. Let's see. Cindy is in Indy. Cindy, how are you today?
I'm great. Steve, thank you for the wonderful commentary. I love hearing your show this early in the morning.
Thank you.
I may have two questions, two things. One, how in the world do all these people, protesters, invaders, whatever, how do they not have jobs? I'd love to understand some of these mothers who leave their children as they drop them off to school or wherever they go, get in their car and they want to cause havoc. Where is a mother's heart?
Yeah,
that
that's a good
girl that
question.
just got killed, left a child.
Look, this woman who died, this 37-year-old mother who died, first of all, she lost custody of her two oldest children completely.
Yes.
Her ex-husband has full custody.
Great.
What does that tell you? Second thing, her
Tells
second
me a
husband
lot.
died. What's
Tells
that?
me a lot.
Yeah, it tells you a lot.
It tells
And
me
here's
a
the-
lot about her character.
Yeah, the only reason she has custody of the child that was dropped off at daycare with now her wife is because her second husband died. I don't know the circumstances of his death, but he died, and therefore there is no living parent. So she could be the worst mother in the world. She's not going to lose custody. There's something wrong with that system, isn't there?
There sure is. I just say, okay, so that's my question. Number one. The other one is the NGOs that have been funding a lot of this radical craziness across our country.
Yeah.
You would have hoped after Dodge that would have been stopped and a lot of that money would have been found and refunneled back into our system to help
Takes time.
the elderly, whatever.
Yeah, it
You
takes
know,
time
that's my
to unwind that whole deal. Thank you, Cindy. Greatly appreciate your phone call. Have a great weekend. It takes a lot. Once you get a mess this big, it doesn't clean itself up overnight. Lee is in Alabama. Lee, how are you today?
Yes. Well, first off, I'm going to say I love me some Trump. I really do. But 3 or 4 weeks ago, I heard that he was going to up the ante for these illegals to self-deport from $1,000 to $3,000.
All right.
Now, why would he want to send even more money to other countries for their economy instead of keeping it here in our economy by way of hiring or deputizing, say, bounty hunters and pay them $500 a head for each confirmed deport?
You know, I'm not sure, and I'll be fair with you on this, Lee. I get your point, but I don't think we want to see bounty hunters running through the streets of America chasing people down. Can you imagine the videos then? Can you imagine public sentiment? I mean, think about it. Be honest here now. I understand how you feel. You're one vote, but your neighbor's got a vote, and his wife's got a vote, and the people down the street have a vote. If you put on that sort of chaos, I don't think that it returns politically favorably to you. But I understand your point. But $3,000 is a pittance compared to the amount of money that's being stolen through welfare. So if there's somebody here that's on welfare and you let them self-deport for $3,000, you just saved yourself a pile of money. But good phone call, Lee, and worthy of consideration. I'll see what people think. SteveGruber.com to send me an email. Randy in the great state of Wisconsin. Randy, how are you today?
I'm doing great, sir. My question is, or actually my statement, that Tim Walz is as dirty as they get. Him and whatever Supreme Court that state has is liable for every penny that's missing, and they should be made to pay it back. That
pay restitution.
State and that state only, and any other state that's pulling this. I'm 200 miles away in northern Wisconsin. If they pulled that crap in our state, in northern Wisconsin, do you all know how many deer hunters have scoped rifles?
Oh, come on now. Let's not go there. Let's not go there, Randy.
I know, but the ICE, they're back backs against the wall. They're trying to help us.
Well, if you did something, but let's just, we need to lower the temperature a little bit. Thank you for the call, not raise it up. We need to allow law enforcement to do their job. And as my mother would say, we will not lower ourselves to their level. We will do what is right, what is moral, and what is legal. All right? That's what we're going to do here. John is in Michigan. John, how are you?
Good morning, Steve. I was a little upset with you this morning when you were talking with that congressman as to why you didn't ask her why they passed that rescue of Obamacare through the House yesterday.
Well, here's why.
I'm hoping that the Senate will block it.
I'm going to answer your question. Because that was a recorded interview that happened before that vote was taken.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, now you know. Where are you in Michigan?
I'm sure praying that our Senate, the Republicans in the Senate, since we do still control the Senate,
we do,
will hold the line and say no to that, because that is ridiculous that we're going to bail the Democrats out again on that Obamacare.
The person that I'm most disappointed in that vote, on one of the votes, the Venezuela vote in the Senate, telling Donald Trump, you can't use force in Venezuela. Of course, Barack Obama dropped 90,000 bombs on 15 countries during his time. Josh Hawley. I usually like Josh Hawley. Very disappointed in his vote about the use of force by this president, who's been very restrained in the most part on many of these actions anyhow. Use of force authorization is what I'm talking about. Greatly appreciate all the phone calls here today. We're going to take a break. The phone lines will remain open for the entire day, as they do, in remembrance of Rush Limbaugh's Open Line Fridays. That's why we do free speech, Free for All Friday. That's why we do it. 877-310-9966, the number to connect. I'll take a break and be right back. All right. Well, you heard about that Hampton Inn in Minnesota, that when the ICE agents came in, they refused them rooms. They refused them rooms. Photos emerged showing a crane, by the way, removing that Hampton Inn sign from that hotel, because this comes after the General Services Administration said, that's fine. We just took you off the list of approved hotels. We won't. You don't want our ICE agents there? You get nobody. The sign came down. The formerly Hilton brand property in Lakeville was stripped of its Hilton label by the hotel chain Tuesday morning after a video surfaced, appearing to show that the location continued to deny immigration officers, despite Hilton Hotels saying that the venue had apologized and the properties are open to everyone. We do not tolerate any form of discrimination. Hilton did not respond to a request for comment yesterday. It's unclear who's operating the hotel now. A phone number linked to the property appeared to be disconnected when called. Oh, so that's what happens. Oh, and by the way, a special shout out to a restaurant in Muskegon, Michigan. Let me see this here. Muskegon, Michigan. What is this restaurant called? I sent this out yesterday. Where is it? A sandwich shop there. Come on. Where is it? Oh, here it is. I'm going to find you folks because I want you to know that a sandwich shop called Fatty Lumpkin's Sandwich Shack. Attention people in Muskegon, Michigan. Attention folks in West Michigan. Fatty Lumpkins put out a vulgar, FU-laced post to Trump and to ICE officers and to anybody that supports them that you're not welcome in their sandwich shop. Fatty Lumpkin's Sandwich Shack, Muskegon, Michigan, doesn't care. In fact, they don't want you to show up. So please do not. You can go find their post on Facebook, Fatty Lumpkin's Sandwich Shack post on Facebook. It's eye-opening and disappointing. They don't want your business. You support this country. You support law enforcement. They don't want you to buy a sandwich from their shop, then my friends, do not.
You can also leave reviews online.
Leave reviews for Fatty Lumpkin Sandwich Shack where?
Google reviews.
Google reviews. What about Yelp? Go there too. Yeah, do it.
All the review places.
All right, welcome back. We know that Obamacare is a failure. It doesn't work. It never was supposed to work. It was designed to fail, and fail it has. Costing people more and more money for less and less in return. It's been a disaster. The only way it survives is with your taxpayer dollars and mine when we pay the bill. And the Democrats have been demanding for weeks now that these enhanced subsidies, which means extra tax dollars, continuing to go to about 7% of Americans to pay their health care bills that were put in place during COVID. Yesterday, 17 Republicans joined the Democrats to keep that dream alive, or pipe dream alive. Joining me is Congressman Tim Walberg. He did not, in fact, vote to keep it alive. Congressman, nice to see you here today. Happy New Year.
Likewise.
Disappointing, I would say, but you think that this has no chance of survival in the Senate, as we talked about in the break. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, certainly not in its present form. Does it have any chance of survival? I hope that John Thune doesn't even take it up. You know, he has the same challenges as Mike Johnson over here. When you have some Republicans that sit in actual Democrat districts, and we'd rather have Republicans, but I mean, the people need to understand that this is crazy. That's a $400 billion giveaway, not to those premium payers, but a $400 billion premium giveaway to big insurance companies. And these insurance companies, since the Unaffordable Care Act went into effect back in 2010, when they were making $245 billion, now they are making $1.4 trillion in premiums. So it's those insurance companies that are getting the benefit, and the 7 million people, some of whom make $600,000 a year, who are getting a taxpayer subsidized health care program. The 340 million people that are still out there who are on their employer's health care plan, on their own health care plan, also now have to kick in $400 billion if this insane bill would pass, which is a total lie to the constituencies. And the Democrats are making it appear like the Republicans are taking away health care coverage. No, it's just that additional supplemental. The marketplace is still there. The exchange is still there for those 7 million people. And most of them won't get all that great of an increase, even if those subsidies weren't put on, which were COVID era. Now, remember, the Democrats...
So just for clarification, just so I'm clear on this part, of those 7 million people, half didn't use a nickel of their money in 2025, my understanding.
Absolutely.
But the insurance company still gets 100% of the money.
They get 100% of the money. And in fact, some of those people aren't even people. They are Social Security numbers that are being used by fraudsters. And if we would have put a simple amendment in, I mean, if we could have gotten it from the Democrats, that everyone that receives that had to at least pay $10 per month for that insurance coverage, we'd have found how many number one, don't even know they have that supplemental, or two, aren't even alive. The type of fraud that's there. This is what's going on, folks. And it's based upon the fact that the Democrats think that people are so stupid that they can get away with pushing this thing so they can get their base, their radical base, to continue supporting them. And yet, this Unaffordable Care Act has been a failure since its beginning.
Yes, it has.
We're talking about an 80% increase in cost of health care coverage.
Well, my coverage too. Look, I went to pick up a prescription real quickly yesterday, and my card, which was brand new, by the way, they said, well, it's expired. I said, it's brand new. Well, coverage stops on the 31st of December. That's a different problem. But Ivy pointed out to me, our rates went up $500-600 a month, and our coverage went down. Our deductibles went way up. The insurance companies are getting fatter by the day, while we pay more for less, even when we're not in the exchange. Yeah. Right? It's crazy.
Steve, you point out a good point there. Most people, they hear this discussion about health care, how people hate their health care. No, they don't hate their health care. They hate their means by which they pay for their health care. They can get good health care, but they can't afford it. They've got a paper in hand with the Unaffordable Care Act, but they can't, as the lie was given, they can't keep their doctor, they can't keep their hospital, they can't keep their network necessarily.
Right,
they
all
can't
true.
keep their insurance policy. So all of that is the failure. It's not the healthcare system itself, but it's the means by which we pay for it. So the Republicans...
Two great ideas. In my opinion, two great ideas were put forth by Donald Trump and this administration already. Health savings accounts for all Americans. Stop paying the insurance companies directly. Stop doing that. And these health associations. And the example put out was use Costco. 44 million people could go negotiate with United Health or Blue Cross or whoever your provider is and get far better deals. These are good ideas. Stop enriching the insurance companies. You know, the head of Blue Cross Blue Shield last year made $12.5 million. He took a pay cut because he made $13.5 the year before. I'm sorry. Stop enriching the insurance companies while screwing the American taxpayer. I mean, that's my take. Pretty simple, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned my bill. That was my bill, the Association Health Plan. It passed in our package of bills that we passed before the end of the session when we went to Christmas recess. If all that we put into that package ultimately became law, just that portion of it, which included my Association of Health Plans bill, we would save the people in Michigan 11% on their premium, just with those. We have other packages that are coming forward now, but this monstrosity was put through just to still enhance the Unaffordable Care Act so they don't have to admit that it's been a failure since it was passed. It's crazy, and it will not help us. It will melt down. They want to go to a single-payer system, which works nowhere, including in Mandami's communist New York right now, and that's the challenge we have. So people, wake up. Don't let these Democrats, crazies, think that you're so stupid that you're going to accept that. Push back on it. There's a cavalry ready to give a change, but we need the support of the constituencies back home who have been lied to. And you see that all week, including the crazies that are fighting our law enforcement and wanting this country to be lawless. I mean, it is a terrible time, but a time of opportunity for those of us who have common sense, decency, and believe in America.
Absolutely true. We'll leave it right there. Well done, Congressman. A lot of work to do this new year, and I'm optimistic about it. We start with a 5.4% GDP increase, an inflation that's below 3%, an economy that looks like it's getting going, and by the time we get to Election Day, could be going great guns. I appreciate it. Congressman, Happy New Year. Thank you.
To you as well. Let's keep fighting.
Keep fighting every single day is what we do here. Thank you, Congressman Tim Walberg, with us from Michigan 5. Michigan 5. I'll take a break. When we come back, I got Michael Tothia, the Director of Research at the Civitas Institute. America needs a transcontinental railroad, he says. Really? Don't we already have that? We'll ask him what he means after the break. All right, here we go as it's a big Friday here. You know, it has been a blistering news pace, as you know, since we started the new year. Just one big story after another. My next guest says that we need to pay attention to the economy, as we do, and growth is good. Michael Toth is the director of research at the Civitas Institute at the University of Texas at Austin. Michael, thank you and welcome back to the program.
Steve, happy Friday. It's great to be with you.
Good to see you. Now, here's your argument. You say that America needs a transcontinental railroad. Didn't we get that in 1876?
Yeah, a lot of people thought so too. I remember taking history classes and learning about Leland Stanford nailing in the point at Promontory Point and connecting the two rail lines. What happened, though, is the progressive era started in the early 20th century, and big regulation, big government took on business, and what we got was a fragmentation of our rail industry. And so now, if you want to ship freight from coast to coast, you can't do it. You've got these interchange points, Chicago, Memphis, and freight is literally sitting for days. I mean, and I'll get into the details in a second here, Steve, but ask your listeners, what would it be like if, changing planes in O'Hare meant you had to take a bus to Midway in order to make the next connection? Nobody would stand for that in air travel. But in freight travel, which is the engine of our economy, that 5% growth that you're talking about, we have these interchanges, these choke points, and that's because we have no one rail service on the freight side that can move important cargo and supplies and all of the great materials that our companies are putting together from coast to coast.
So there's no express lane. There's no, a lane that's just a thoroughfare straight through, coast to coast.
Not in the U.S. They have it in Canada. They have it to our north, Steve. Canada's got a transcontinental railroad, but we don't have it. And up north in Canada, the Canadian government is putting tens of billions of dollars into their ports because, Steve, this isn't just about connecting the coasts. This is also about our 100 ports in California, in the East Coast, all the way up and down the East Coast. This is about sending products out to international markets as well, right? So Canada's got it, but the U.S. doesn't have it. And that's because we don't have smart regulation.
Well,
you mentioned
I'm
one
shocked
other thing,
to hear
Steve.
that. I'm shocked to hear we have bad regulations. I'm stunned on a Friday here with that. Of course,
Big news.
Regulations, taxes, fees. I'm sure there's a fee to park that freight car in Memphis, in Montana, and wherever else they get parked. Okay, so
this is
we've
cutting
laid it out,
through
but,
all
but
of that.
let's talk about a solution here. We've got a couple minutes left. I want to make sure we get to the solution part. We've got railroads all over this country. We made a big mistake in the United States late in the 20th century. We started tearing out rail lines all over the place. It was a foolish thing to do because we need them now more than we did then. But railroads were really in a tough spot in the 80s and 90s, and rail lines got torn out and turned into bike trails. Happened all over the country. You know this. What would it take to create a transcontinental railroad using existing infrastructure, or do we need to build all new? What has to happen?
We need our regulators in Washington to approve a deal which is on the table between Union Pacific Railroad and Norfolk Southern Railroad. The CEO of Union Pacific was in the Oval Office with President Trump. President Trump said the deal sounds good to him, but it's before the regulators, and they need to give it a green light. That's what I'm arguing. And Steve, you said something a minute ago, and I just wanted to double click on it. You said this is like an express lane. The way that I put it is, we've heard about the boondoggles in California, the high-speed rail that's taking tens of billions of dollars of tax money and torching it. This is giving us, for freight, a high-speed express lane from coast to coast without a single dollar of taxpayer money. It's going to cut emissions. It's going to bring the delivery times way down. It's going to help people get their Amazon and UPS packages faster.
What you just said means lower cost to the end user, to the consumer, to the guy that gets something delivered on their porch every day, like me. It will lower cost.
Exactly. It's going to lower cost, and that gets back to our 5% economic growth. This is the supply chain update that our country needs to keep that economic engine going, to keep inflation low, to keep economic growth up. That's what this deal is about. This is the reprivatization of our American economy. Another cabinet secretary, Howard Lutnick, was on CNBC, and he said, look, this deal is going to bring efficiencies. So we need an upgrade to the American supply chain. That's what the manufacturing industry needs. That's what our exporters need. This is an infrastructure that exists in Canada. And a lot of what we've been seeing in terms of the great economic growth that we're coming off of in 2025 is these kinds of changes coming from the private sector and now getting traction in Washington, D.C. So I think this is a great news story for American consumers. It's a great news story for American business. And I'm
here's
an
my
optimist.
last question.
Like you said.
Here, hold on here before we run out of time. Where are we in the process? You say Howard Lutnick likes it. I like Howard Lutnick. I've talked to him a few times. Nice man, billionaire, knows a thing or two about business. Where are we in the process, real quick?
Yeah, last thing, Steve. The companies have agreed to the deal. It needs to get approved by regulators. The regulators that approve rail deals, it's called the Surface Transportation Board. It's based in Washington, D.C. It's got a majority of Trump appointees. The deal is with them. The railroads have formally applied for the approval. And so now we wait for that regulatory approval process to happen.
All right.
And, stay tuned. In the months ahead, we could have this historic rail line up and running.
Well, come back with an update when you've got more. Greatly appreciate the conversation. Smart. Very smart.
Steve, I'd love to. Great to see you again.
There you have it. Michael Toth, everybody, at Civitas Institute. For those of you in Michigan, if you're tired of hard water ruining your appliances, staining your sinks, drying out your skin, well, Wolverine Water Systems, they can deliver pure, clean, tasting, great water. They've done it to Michigan families for more than 75 years. Whether it's well water or city water, the American-made water softeners and filtration systems are custom-built to fix your water problems. Visit WolverineWaterSystems.com today for a free in-home water test. That's free. WolverineWaterSystems.com. Pure, clean water. WolverineWaterSystems.com. Again, a free test if you check it out today. Anybody in Michigan, pay attention. WolverineWaterSystems.com. I'll have sports with Brock coming up after this. All right, time to check in on sports with our good friend Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. Carson Beck scored on a 3-yard touchdown run with 18 seconds left, and the Miami Hurricanes advanced to the national championship game in college football with a thrilling 31-27 victory over Ole Miss last night in the Fiesta Bowl in Glendale, Arizona. The Hurricanes will face the winner of tonight's Indiana-Oregon game on January 19th for the national championship. 3 games in the NBA last night. Winners were Indiana, Minnesota, and Utah. In the NHL, there were 12 games on the slate. Winners included Toronto, Pittsburgh, Colorado, and Vegas. In men's college basketball, winners included 8th-ranked Gonzaga, 12th-ranked Michigan State, and 16th-ranked Illinois. On the women's side, there were a couple of upsets. 18th-ranked Ole Miss knocked off 5th-ranked Oklahoma on the road 74-69, and Alabama upset 6th-ranked Kentucky 64-51. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, this identifies the big problem with the college football playoff system. Miami, according to many, shouldn't have made the field. They were on the bubble, Brock, remember?
Yep. They should have been in the field because they beat Notre Dame.
Well, I
the
get
big deal
that.
Was that Notre Dame didn't get in, but Miami deserved to get in over them.
Well, but on the bubble and in the championship.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't stay up to watch it because it ended after 11 o'clock, and I got to get up early to do this show. So,
Well, I appreciate your dedication to quality here at the Steve Gruber Show.
I'm trying. That's all I can do is try. But anyway, Miami of Florida, the Hurricanes are back. And it's and now they'll play the winner tonight's Indiana-Oregon game for the national championship.
Monster rematch tonight. What time's that game? 8 o'clock?
7:30 tonight.
7:30.
That's the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl in Atlanta. A rematch from earlier in the season. Oregon's only loss was to Indiana back in October, I believe.
30-20.
I believe that was a score, yeah.
Well, here you go. Who's your daddy? I don't know. I just feel like it's Indiana's year, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm rooting for Indiana, and I think they win tonight.
I think they do too. I mean, they pulverized Alabama in the last round. But why are they doing these games on weeknights? Seems
well, they
odd.
don't want to go against the NFL playoffs.
Well, I do.
That I get. But January 19th to play the national championship, that's way too late.
Agreed on that as well. All right. Final thoughts of this week are coming up in the next hour. Another hour of this great show. always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent. Come on, man. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
And welcome to it. Another big hour here. The Steve Gruber Show as we fight for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. America first, my friends. America first. We're here to tell the truth as best we know it, to examine the facts as best we can ascertain them, and then evaluate them to the best of our ability. That's what I do here every day, to try to get you to the truth of the matter. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, data centers. Data centers. Microsoft wants to build one in Lowell, but this is happening all over Michigan, all over the country. What do you think about it? Number two, a GOP report says the AG's office did only a cursory investigation into Dana Nessle's ally. More scandal surrounding Dana Nessel, no question about it. And number three, the fallout from Minneapolis continues, but the strangeness of Governor Tim Walz just continues to present itself. A couple of things here. First of all, a couple of days ago, in the wake of this woman being killed by an ICE officer when she hit him with her car and he fired in self-defense, I put up a video on X. It's blatantly clear. She's told by one officer at the side of her car to get out of the car. Instead, she puts it in reverse, she backs up, and then she races ahead. As a result, the police officer in front of her gets struck by the vehicle. He fires. And you can see in the video, there's a single gunshot wound through the windshield that obviously didn't come from the side. It's straight through. And he does not fire. This is another important factor. He does not fire his weapon until he is hit by the car. It's cut and dried self-defense. But Tim Walz says it's murder. And Tim Walz says he's ready to call up the Minnesota National Guard as if it's April of 1861 to fight with federal officers trying to do their job and get illegal people out of our country. Tim Walz says he's ready to move with the National Guard. Listen to what he said.
Order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops. They're teachers in your community. They're business owners. They're construction professionals. They are Minnesotans. Minnesota will not allow our community to be used as a prop in a national political fight. We will not take the bait. We will continue to update you, Minnesota, as we get more information.
I'll bet those teachers and business owners and so forth, they're ready to take up arms against federal law enforcement officers. Right, Tim? Give me a break. Of course they're not. And by the way, if you don't think that Tim Walz is going to put the National Guard up against other people, including his own citizens, I have a reminder video from the COVID years. Tim Walz put the National Guard in the streets of the state of Minnesota and shot paintballs at people sitting on their porches because they weren't following the COVID crackdowns. Remember that? The National Guard marching through the streets of Minnesota shooting citizens on their porches because they were on their porches. And then yesterday, another Civil War reference, even more egregious potentially. Tim Walz compares what's happening in Minneapolis, where federal law enforcement are conducting lawful apprehensions of people in the country illegally. He compares this to July the 3rd, 1863, Gettysburg. It's so unconscionable, but here it is.
Our history, when things looked really bleak, it was Minnesota's first that held that line for the nation on that July 3rd, 1863. And I think now we may be in that moment that the nation's looking to us to hold the line on democracy.
Oh, please. The nation's looking at you and shaking its head in disgust, Governor. Make no mistake, the nation is looking at you and shaking its head in disgust. And Illinois, and California, New York. Donald Trump was elected in large part to secure the border. and to remove those that had come here illegally as quickly as he could. There's been net negative immigration in America for the first time in 50 years because of people self-deporting. Was it 2.5 million self-deported, something like that? Another million that have been sent out of the country lawfully, forcibly. And Tim Walz thinks this is like one of the great battles of the American Civil War. Tim Walz is delusional to arrive at such a bizarre conclusion. He seems to be obsessed with Civil War antics. First, to mobilize his troops, he says it's our National Guard. No, sir. If it was your National Guard, why was your National Guard unit yours, Governor? Because Tim Walz was a member of the National Guard, serving in support roles for Iraqi freedom. Because, in essence, they are federal troops. But here's a strange paradox. What about this? What if, under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, Tim Walz is recalled by Pete Hegseth, which he can do, and said, okay, you're now redeployed to the Minnesota National Guard, and by the way, you'll be the one standing out front to take on federal troops. Put Tim Walz out front and center. Or, you like that, didn't you? Or, tell the Minnesota National Guard they've been federalized and have to defend the ICE agents and the Customs and Border Patrol agents and the other federal law enforcement people in Minnesota, which, by the way, now includes everybody, the IRS, the FBI. They're all there because of the fraud, because Tim Walz turned a blind eye to massive amounts of fraud, billions of dollars from fake daycare centers, fake autism centers, fake home health care companies. The list just goes on and on. They're there as well, 2,000 federal agents. The Internal Revenue Service is there. That's where you're going to find so much of these. The raids are continuing. I watched them yesterday, walking out with boxes and boxes and boxes of records, except for, of course, the place that had a break-in and a robbery, and somehow everybody that was there stole the records of the children and the employment records. Oh, that's a strange thing to steal. Do you think somebody broke into a daycare center to steal the attendance records of the kids and the employment records of the employees? Yeah, that's what they claimed in Minnesota, at one of these Somali daycares. Unbelievable? Yes, because it's a lie.
Well, Steve, real quick, what are your thoughts? I've heard the idea that Tim Walz is just using all of this as a distraction from the fraud stuff going on.
Clearly. He's in real trouble here. Look, we know now from people that testified on Capitol Hill this week that people inside the Minnesota administration of Tim Walz and inside these agencies have been actively changing records, fabricating documents, backdating things. Remember, my friends, the cover-up. Always worse than the crime. The crime was pretty bad here. The cover-up's going to be worse. People will end up in prison. I mean, Illinois has a long history of putting its governors in prison. Minnesota, jump on board. I'll be right back. Well, it is a Friday and a very busy year already, isn't it? It's a remarkably busy year. It's crazy how fast the news cycle has been going, but at the back end of this year, we'll go to the polls again. And we say this every year, but I don't know that it's wrong. This is the most important election of my lifetime, most important midterm election of my lifetime. What direction are we going to go as a country? Are we going to enforce the laws? Or are we going to interfere with those trying to enforce the laws? Which direction are we going? My next guest would have some strong opinions on that. Doug Lloyd. He's a Michigan Republican candidate for Attorney General in 2026. He is the Eaton County prosecutor. Currently, Doug, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Steve. Great to be with you this morning.
Great to be with you. We've never met, which is probably a good thing for me. Because I frequent Eaton County. I've apparently behaved myself all that time. Let me ask you about interfering with law enforcement in their pursuit of duties. Obviously, it's in the headlines. I just put a video up on X, best angle I've seen yet. The law enforcement officer is impacted by the vehicle of the woman who was shot and killed in Minnesota before he fired. I think it's generally an accepted practice that you have the right as a law enforcement officer at the local, state, or federal level. If somebody uses a vehicle to assault you, you can use lethal force. Yes or no?
I'd agree with you. And that's the thing, right, is that, I actually have an officer shooting that just happened in my county right at the end of the year. So, your local prosecutors deal with this all the time as far as looking at this. For us, it's really about, having law enforcement actually get out there and make the determination that they're going to, actually investigate that case. It's different now compared to when I got into this 34 years ago, because now we have social media and it's up on the TV before even law enforcement has the opportunity to investigate it. But when you're looking at what I saw, you're looking at officers who are telling an individual to stop who has committed crimes, and that individual refused to stop and then proceeded forward in a way that caused that officer fear. Now, obviously, without knowing everything that those officers are going to put together, you can't make a final conclusion. But that rough draft that we're looking at there says that the officer was doing what they needed to do in order to protect themselves.
What do you think when you hear, I just heard this from the lead prosecutor, I don't know the exact title, but in Philadelphia, said they will actively prosecute ICE agents, Border Patrol agents. Anybody, any federal officer in the city of Philadelphia has become a target, not just of these folks that are agitators and protesters, but of the justice system. I just find that so far out of the lane, I find it hard to describe. What are your thoughts on that? Do we have law enforcement's back in Michigan or not?
Well, in Eaton County, you sure do. And Doug Lloyd sure does. That's why I have 60 prosecutors and over 30 sheriffs across the state who endorse me, because they understand that we're getting really tired of people prosecuting from a pulpit. That's not exactly how it's supposed to be done. When we talk about your local prosecutor, when you talk about the state attorney general, what they're supposed to be doing, they're supposed to be gathering the facts and evidence and then making sure that they can actually prosecute a case. To get up there and just say, I'm going to prosecute somebody, isn't that what we've listened to for the last 7 years? Yeah, that's what we listen to every time President Trump actually gets up there as well. We're just going to prosecute him. Well, a true prosecutor doesn't do that. And that's the problem. We keep electing political activists who believe that it's just okay to actually get out there and just say, I'll prosecute somebody. Well, ethically, you shouldn't be talking about the defendant until you can actually put that piece of paper in front of a judge. Because you know what? Defendants have rights too. And every time we get up there and talk from the pulpit, all we're doing is violating somebody's rights. And it's time that we actually get back to protecting everyone's rights. That includes the defendants.
Let me ask you about this. I want to shift gears to Dana Nessel. Headline today, MichiganNewsSource.com. AG's office did cursory investigation into Nessel's ally. She had this friend, Tracy Kornack, who was apparently overseeing the well-being of an elderly, incapacitated woman. Embezzled, apparently, allegedly, a pile of money, and when asked to investigate, Dana Nessel's office did basically nothing. Is the office of the Attorney General in Michigan currently compromised when it comes to ethics and following the law?
Yeah, it's a really good question there, right? I mean, I don't have all the inside facts, so being able to determine everything, but I can tell you at the county level, I've prosecuted people for doing exactly that. Other local prosecutors have done the same thing. You have a person who's charged with actually, being responsible for an elderly person and they steal money. You're right, that's called embezzlement. Why is it that that case was sent to the Attorney General's office and it was just blown off? I have no idea, because once again, we have ethical abilities to be able to handle things differently. If she felt she had a conflict, then she could have moved that case to a local prosecutor and have them investigate. Just like, funny enough, it's being investigated now by the Kent County prosecutor. So that can be done. So why wasn't it done then? We obviously know that the Attorney General is more than comfortable to remove cases that bother her, say Matt DePerno. So if you're going to be able to do that, why couldn't you have done it for your own friend?
In fact, with Matt DePerno, they went judge shopping, according to the documents I've seen, the emails I've seen. They went judge shopping in an attempt to prosecute him. All right, real quick, Doug, anybody listening, how do they find you if they like what they're hearing?
Sure. You can find me at votedougloyd.com, or you can always see what I'm doing at Doug Lloyd Prosecutor on Facebook and all my other social media.
Doug, greatly appreciate you being here. Best of luck in your race.
I appreciate it, Steve. Great to see you.
Thank you very much. There you have it. Doug Lloyd running for Attorney General in Michigan. He is the Eaton County Prosecutor. VoteDougLloyd.com. You can find out more. Pretty solid answers, I would say, for the questions asked here today. It's going to be a big year at the ballot box. Make sure you are a well-informed electorate. I'll be right back. I was at a gathering with some folks last night having a conversation about all the big headlines. They invited me out to talk to them about what's in the headlines, what's going on. One of the big conversations for folks, these data centers, these big data centers, they take tremendous amounts of energy and water. Fortunately, we sit here on the Saginaw Aquifer, and the impact of a giant data center, according to what I did research-wise, would be the equivalent of a city of 50,000 people. It's not gonna run the aquifer dry. It's been there for millennia. Saginaw Aquifer is a great thing for Michigan, for southern Michigan. My water supply comes from that, so do surrounding counties here. I think we're in pretty good shape. But there's another data center by Microsoft being revealed in Lowell Township. This again, MichiganNewsSource.com. You want to find out the important stories going on in this state, not the left-leaning nonsense from people in Ann Arbor and so forth, well, then just go to MichiganNewsSource.com. We are introducing ourselves now because we have observed that the community would like more information about the proposal, and we believe it is important to be transparent about our intentions moving forward, said the letter. The previously unnamed company hopes to build a data center on a 237-acre lot just outside Grand Rapids. In the letter, the Microsoft Cloud Infrastructure team said they wrote to the township to share more about their mission. This letter is meant to begin an open conversation, they write. share who we are, and outline what we'd like to accomplish together in the future. We know that this project has raised questions and concerns from the local community. We're committed to engaging openly and respectfully. We'll see where this goes. We will see where this goes. As part of the program brought to you by the Wellness Company, doctors have warned that this year's flu season was going to be a rough one. It has been in my home as well. There's a tough strain of flu out there, but how do you keep yourself healthy? The vaccine's really not the answer. Dr. Peter McCullough warned about this long ago. He's been clear that the strain is more severe, which means more personal preparation matters. That's why I trust the Wellness Company's two-step approach. I just started this. Step 1, prevention through immune defense nasal and throat sprays. They're on my counter. And Step 2, early treatment through the Contagion Emergency Kit with physician-prescribed antiviral options, including a nebulizer, hydroxychloroquine, yeah, easy for me to say, and ivermectin. It's all in my house. It should be in yours. TWC.health/Gruber. TWC.health/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. Geez, you're going to save 10%. Geez. I'll be right back. Blah, 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 blah. All right, welcome back now. We're going to focus on the great state of Minnesota a little bit more, as we should. It seems that the focus of the news cycle has been in Minnesota considerably. From the fraud to the death of the protester after she struck an ICE agent with her car. People on the left trying to tell you that this was murder, this was something. I put the video up on my X account. Go look at it. The best video yet. You can see clearly the officer is hit by her car in a glancing blow before he fires. And that's why in the video, when you see the car up against a telephone pole, you can see very clearly there's one bullet hole through the windshield. And shot didn't come from the side. It came from straight ahead when he was, well, right after he was hit by her car. Emily Novotny Chance is the Minnesota RNC committee woman. She joins me now. Emily, thank you for being here on the program.
Thanks for having me.
A lot of things happening in Minnesota, and not any of it very good, from what I can tell. You've got this massive fraud. You've got a state that's been a blue state as long as I can remember. Look, as long as I've been alive, Minnesota's been voting for Democrats for president, for governor. You've got 2 Democrat senators there. Soon it could be none. But there have to be changes in Minnesota. Look, Tina Smith already said she's not running for re-election, opening that Senate seat. Amy Klobuchar looks like she's most likely going to jump into the race for governor. Now, she could win the race for governor. She's reasonably well liked, but that leaves 2 open Senate seats in Minnesota. What's it going to change things there?
It's going to take everyday Minnesotans being upset enough to go to the polls. Everyone's going to have to turn out and vote. This wide-scale fraud, $9 billion so far. I think we're only at the tip of the iceberg. It's going to take everybody getting involved and going to the polls to make a difference this election cycle.
So how do you do that? Look, if you look at Minnesota, a statewide map, the way Minnesota votes, it's a red state, except for about 2 or 3 places. It's a red state. So what is the impact on the fraud investigation going to be when people go to the votes? Is it going to motivate people that generally say it doesn't matter if I vote? Are people going to get off the couch and go vote?
I think it is going to motivate everyday people. I've been talking to folks at church, at the gas station, who are like, what the heck is happening? I can't pay my bills. I can't send my kids to school because of how expensive things are here. And it's time that everyday Minnesotans get upset and go to the polls. We're very thankful for President Trump coming into Minnesota with ICE and starting to clean things up. We have same-day voter registration. You don't need an ID or an address. And
you can vouch for 8 other people, apparently. You can vouch for 8 other people in Minnesota. I mean, what? I couldn't even believe that was true when I first read that. I said, that can't be right. But it is.
And Steve, you can put everyone on a bus and bring them to the next polling location and do it again.
Because nobody checks.
Nobody checks.
What are we going to do to change that? What's it going to take to make a difference here, Emily? As far as that goes, because look, the Somali community was defrauding you and the other taxpayers of Minnesota out of billions of dollars that were supposed to go to autistic kids, home health care companies, food preparation and food services companies for the poor. What's it going to take for ordinary Minnesotans to say, what the hell is going on here? And you're right. How can this even be possible? And for Tim Walz to suggest that he's going to call up the Minnesota National Guard to take on federal officers, I would say that's crazy, except we've got video of the Minnesota National Guard opening up with paint guns on people on their porches during COVID. Tim Walz is not afraid to use the National Guard against his own people, apparently.
I know. We need Republicans to get out and sign up to be poll watchers and election judges so that we can start calling out this fraud that's happening at the polling places, just like we did in 2024 with President Trump's leadership. We need to do it again in 2026 and start talking to everyday people. No longer live in our echo chambers, but go out and talk to folks about what is happening and what they can do to stop it.
Yeah. It's frightening for us here. Minneapolis used to be quite a nice city until the summer of Floyd. What is the state of Minneapolis today? Give the folks an update. I mean, are buildings still burned out? Has it been rebuilt? Where are we in that process?
Minneapolis is a sad city. A lot of the businesses have left and fled. Fortune 500 companies have closed their doors. Small mom and pop restaurants are no longer in existence. They didn't rebuild. They couldn't afford to rebuild. They just don't exist anymore. If you go to downtown Minneapolis, it is a shell of the city that existed prior to 2020.
Is it too late for, I mean, some of us, we said, oh, look, I'm not too far away. I'm in Michigan. Been to Minnesota many times. Lake Mille Lacs, what a wonderful place to catch walleye this time of the year through the ice, if you're brave enough to go out there and hear those sounds. But we used to go to Minneapolis. It was a clean, safe, wonderful city. We did. And I wouldn't go to Minneapolis on a bet. Why would I want to go there? What would be my need to go to Minneapolis now? And for the pro sports franchises, I mean, they've got to have problems bringing people to games. It's a problem all the way across the board. Minnesota can still save itself, but what's it going to take? I mean, yes, some people voting, but it's going to take more than that. It's going to have to take Democrats realizing what a folly this has been, isn't it?
It is. It's going to take Democrats realizing we have gone too far. And what is too far? At what point is it too much? 2 years ago, the Democrats blew an $18 billion surplus in our state government.
Yeah.
At what point does everyday people and Democrats say this is too far? Being communist and socialist is wrecking our state.
Yeah, we lost New York City, but we saved Venezuela. It's been an interesting week. There is that. You know, maybe we can save Minnesota, right?
There's still time to save Minnesota, Steve.
I hope so. It's a beautiful state. I love Minnesota. You know,
I do too.
It's a great place. The Boundary Waters, Minneapolis can still be saved, but it's going to take work. But maybe this is the great awakening of Minnesota. That's what I'm hoping for you, Emily. I'm hoping it's the great awakening. I'll give you the last word.
Well, Steve, thanks for having me on. I just encourage everyone to not turn their eyes away from Minnesota when the news cameras and the mainstream media leave us in a week or two after all of this starts to settle down, but really focus on Minnesota. We can use all the help we can get in donations and support to win elections this November.
Emily Novotny, chance. Come back anytime with an update because people are watching. We won't forget here. So when those news cameras leave from CBS and Chicken Noodle News and so forth, stay in touch with us. We'll keep telling the people the truth. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
By the way, J.D. Vance announcing a multi-state fraud task force because what happened in Minnesota. Just announced this yesterday. The Justice Department will feature a new position to address fraud directly, he says. Look, Minnesota has been exposed for the massive fraud, as I was talking about with Emily there. But it's not isolated. It's not unique, sadly. It is a problem that, and look, the next poster child for all of this will without question be California. California. Everyday Americans make choices that shape our country's future, like we've been talking about, right down to which cell phone provider we support. Here's what most people don't realize. Patriot Mobile isn't just a wireless provider. They're an activist organization funded by selling top-tier cell phone service. They've been on the front lines defending our freedoms long before it was cool, standing in the gap when others didn't care. The best part is they deliver prioritized premium service on all three major U.S. networks, giving you the same or even better coverage backed by a 100% U.S.-backed customer support. Get unlimited data plans, mobile hotspots, international roaming, and so much more. And when you switch to Patriot Mobile, you'll help grow a movement that fuels a Christian conservative cause. Every bill you pay helps advance the values of faith, family, and freedom. Switching is easier than ever. Activate in minutes. Keep your number, keep your phone, or you can even upgrade. Take a stand today. Go to patriotmobile.com/Gruber. Patriotmobile.com/Gruber. Get a free month of service right now. Patriotmobile.com/Gruber. Ivy up next. Don't go anywhere. All right, getting back to it now. Ivy is in the room. Absolutely. It's Friday. She comes in every day, but Friday just feels a little bit better. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you here. Glad you're on board. Wonderful. It's like really warm outside. It's almost like summer out there, isn't it?
It is. It's like spring. But, it's not going to last for long. Enjoy it for a couple days here in Michigan because starting back tomorrow.
Winter's coming back. Yeah. Let me share something with you because we do this every Friday. The best thing, the worst thing, the different things that I hear. I want to go to bite number 2, Anthony. I think this is one of the better takes on that terrible shooting in Minneapolis. Look, I'm not pleased that this woman got killed, but she put herself in harm's way, and this gentleman in 15 seconds explains it pretty well. Listen.
FAFO, but also my condolences. But let me just say this. If you try to run over a federal agent, you will get shot. Stop trying to spread this propaganda like ICE did something wrong.
Move. Yeah, 15 seconds. There it is.
I think the reality is it doesn't even matter if it's a federal officer. If it's
Any
just
officer.
a law enforcement officer, you get pulled over, you try to run that officer over with your vehicle, you're going to get shot at.
Yeah, I think so.
And generally that's, if you can watch hundreds of cop videos. Sometimes they do that, sometimes they don't. But if you just comply with the law or the orders of a police officer, especially when we're talking about, this federal situation, just comply.
Look.
And you'd be alive. Comply, stay alive.
Simple. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. Yes, officer. What would you like? Look.
Well, we've been teaching our kids to not have any respect for,
to defund the
authoritative
police. Yeah, it started with that. Go on.
Well, not only that, but teachers in classrooms. Teachers have no authority in their classrooms.
True.
And children are so disrespectful to their teachers.
Well, how many?
It starts here, young, and at home, unless you're like really a disciplinarian and saying, no, you're not going to behave this way.
Right.
And
you have to be.
I don't know. I think a lot of parents these days just want to be buddy-buddy.
How many videos? You bring up a great point. How many videos have we seen over the last handful of years of teachers being punched in the face, tackled, knocked down, just taken out by kids that are completely out of control?
Yeah.
And then the kids oftentimes are right back in the classroom in a few days. It's unacceptable. You're right. A lot of this trouble starts right in the classroom. I think you're onto something.
Well, I think that the trouble starts at home primarily.
Okay.
Because if you there's no repercussions at home, you wouldn't go back to school and behave this way if you know that you're going to get into big trouble at home. You're going to lose privileges. You're going to be punished, whatever it is. I think it starts there. But not only that, but if there are repercussions at home and then also those repercussions at school, being suspended, expelled, then maybe kids will change their behavior. But, and then you go into college where you have, socialist training camps, and then you have these rent-a-riots where these kids are going out there and they think that they're in the moral right. What was that movie we just watched over the weekend?
One battle after another.
One battle after another. There is a perfect example of a movie that is championing, why am I going to say that right?
That's all right.
Celebrating this sort of behavior. Change, one of the themes is change America, and the main characters blowing up places and things like that. That is not the way to do
they're glorifying it is what they're doing.
They're glorifying it.
All right, Anthony, you got a thought on this, you said.
Well, just my thought is that, all the kids watching these content creators who, go out into public and just totally disrespect people or quote unquote prank people
Stir
or
it
do
up.
all that stuff. It's everywhere I don't know. I think
It
when you
fuels
say
that
everywhere, you mean like TikTok?
Yeah, just
where else?
all over social media,
Instagram.
All these content creators making content that these kids watch and they're just harassing the public pretty much. I don't think that really teaches them.
Well, and I want to come back to something else here, Ivy, on that. No repercussions at home. We don't have enough dads and homes in America today.
Well, that's certainly true. And I agree with what Anthony said there. It's that our young people have unfettered access to the internet and to social media platforms, to TikTok. And then, of course, I think the CCP is putting purposely these sort of influencers in front of young people to warp their minds into believing this is the right way to be. Right. And it is absolutely, I agree, completely not okay for this kind of unfettered access.
Agreed. And there's no question. We know, Ivy, from our good friend John Solomon, who has done some investigative reporting on TikTok, that they sit in China and they'll derive a formula to get a direct result, whatever that result might be. Sometimes it's suicide. They create a formula to put together videos, and they put them out on TikTok, consumed by young people in America and across the Western world. And then they'll judge their success or failure on how many suicides they triggered. We know that to be true. Now, you might find that shocking listening to that, but we know that to be true, don't we?
We do. We do. It is John Solomon can take right from the inception of the idea of the videos and then the outcomes of those ideas of those kids committing suicide. So yes, this is absolutely going on. And it's not only that, it's adults too. Your feed is more and more about what it is that you want to see and no opposing views. So you're only seeing, and then your ideas are just, reinforced and being supported by everything that you're watching. You're never seeing an opposing view. And we wonder why we can't have conversations. I really just don't understand this sort of hate. And part of me wonders, okay, are these people getting paid to be out there to go riot, or are they actually feeling that this is the right thing to do? I'm not sure.
What about the idea that there should be a restriction, legal restriction, against people under 18 from having full access to social media?
Oh, 100% on board with it. I think it takes the pressure off the kids, or off the parents rather. And because, of course, there's this conflict between parent and kid. And everybody else has social media. I mean, we don't allow social media in our home for our son. So I think it takes the pressure off parents. I'm all for that. We're going to already do that anyway, and I'm sure our kid's going to hate us for it, but that's okay.
That's okay.
You'll be better for it.
We don't have to be best friends. We have to be parents.
Exactly.
Ivy, thank you as always. Love you.
I love you too, Steve.
Hope you have a great weekend.
I hope you do too.
All right, we'll take a break. I got some final thoughts after this.
You too.
All right, I admit I'm going to watch some football tonight. Yeah, I'm like Brock. I could not watch the football game last night. I do like college football, despite the problems with NIL and the playoff system and so forth. Still like the game. It's not the same game as it was, a few years ago, but I like it. And Indiana comes in ranked number 1, 14-0. Never in my lifetime did I think that doormat program would end up being the epitome of greatness. But under Coach Curt Cignetti, in only their second year, they've reached the semifinals. Will they make it to play Miami for all the marbles on the 19th of January? Maybe. Last night's 15-play, 75-yard drive by the Hurricanes, remarkable. I think Ivy's parents probably did not sleep. They are massive Miami fans. They're Hurricane fans. Have been ever. I mean, they're just full-on fans. Have been as long as I've known them. So I'm guessing they didn't sleep last night. What a remarkable drive and a remarkable finish, scoring a touchdown with 15 or 20 seconds left in the game. And a remarkable finish to finish off Ole Miss in remarkable fashion. A 15-play, 75-yard drive. Carson Beck running it in from, a few yards out on 2nd and goal, 3rd and goal, whatever it was. So, yeah, football. I like it. And you know what? I remind you again, Stop in the Name of God, the last book by Charlie Kirk. I've been reading it, and I think it's a good roadmap to disconnect from all this social media stuff, from all the noise that goes on every day. Turn your phone off for 24 hours. Pick your 24 hours. Mine's 5 o'clock Friday until 5 o'clock Saturday. To Brother Shane, sorry I'm not ignoring you. At least not this time. No, it's just mental health awareness for 24 hours a week. You can do this. Read a book. Do something different. Go to a movie. Hang out with your family. Go to dinner with your wife, whatever it may be. All right, fight the good fight. Keep the faith, my friends. God bless America. Have a great weekend. And remember this weekend that only you can save America.